Take out a banknote and really look at it. It's a scrap of paper. You can't eat it. You can't wear it. You can't build anything with it. If you were dropped alone in the wilderness with a wallet full of them, they'd be worth exactly as much as any other pieces of paper, which is to say, kindling. And yet you would trade hours of your life to get more of them. So would a stranger on the other side of the planet, someone who has never met you and never will, who speaks a language you don't understand and believes things you'd find strange? Both of you have quietly agreed that this worthless scrap is worth something. That is one of the strangest things our species has ever managed to do. And to understand how we did it, you have to throw out almost everything you were probably taught about where money came from. Because the story, the neat little story about barter, is mostly wrong. The thing that came before money was not a marketplace. It was something deeper and older, and it's still quietly running your life today. Let's start with the story you've heard, so we can watch it fall apart. The classic tale goes like this. Long ago, people traded goods directly. I have chickens, you have shoes. We swap. Simple. But barter has a problem. We're told, what if I want your shoes, but you don't want my chickens? You want fish. Now I have to find a fisherman who wants chickens, trade for fish, and bring the fish to you. It's a nightmare. So, the story concludes. Clever humans invented money as a middleman, a thing everyone accepts, to grease the wheels. Money as the cure for barter. There's just one problem. Anthropologists went looking for that pure barter economy, the one that supposedly came before money, and they could barely find it anywhere. The philosopher Adam Smith imagined a village where people swapped chickens for shoes on the spot. But real small communities almost never work that way. Here's why. Picture a small band, a few dozen people who all know each other's faces. In a group that size, money is meaningless. If I bring down a deer, I share it with you, not because you hand me something, but because next week you'll share with me. If you help me build a shelter, I owe you one. Nobody's counting exact amounts. The whole ledger is held in memory and in relationship. I owe you a favor needs no coin, no shell, no number. The bookkeeping is the friendship. And notice what that means. The thing that actually came before money wasn't barter at all. It was debt, favors, obligations, trust, all tracked inside people's heads. Real barter, the direct on-the-spot swap, mostly happened between strangers or enemies. People you didn't trust and would never see again, not between neighbors. So the very problem money was supposedly invented to solve was described wrong from the start. So if it wasn't barter, what was the real problem? Watch what happens when the group gets bigger. A few dozen people you can track in your head, but hundreds, thousands, people you can't possibly remember. This is the first wall our species slammed into. The human brain simply does not have the storage to keep track of who owes what to whom across a whole city. Memory breaks down. And when memory breaks down, trust breaks down with it. And here's the fascinating part. The first solution to that wall wasn't a coin. It was writing in ancient Mesopotamia, more than 5,000 years ago. Some of the earliest clay tablets ever pressed with cuneiform script were not poetry, not law, not prayers to the gods. They were receipts, debt records. This person delivered so much barley to the temple, that person still owes this much. The early unit called the shekel didn't start as a coin at all. It began as a standard weight of barley. A way of saying this debt is about this big. Sit with that reversal. We tend to assume writing was invented to tell stories or preserve wisdom, but a huge share of the earliest writing on Earth was invented to keep track of who owed what. Accounting came before literature. Money, in the form of recorded debt, existed for thousands of years before anyone stamped a single coin. But temple ledgers only work when there's a trusted institution keeping the books. What happens when two complete strangers want to trade? No temple, no shared friends, no reason on earth to trust each other, and no expectation of ever meeting again. That is when a physical object becomes useful, not to replace barter, but to solve the trust problem between strangers. If I don't know you, I won't accept your promise. But I might accept a thing, a token everyone already agrees is valuable, so I can carry it on and hand it to the next stranger. Humans tried everything for this. Cowrie shells, which spread across enormous stretches of Africa and Asia. Cattle. The word pecuniary comes from the Latin pecus, meaning livestock. Salt. Bars of copper, and eventually, precious metal weighed out by the gram. Cowrie shells are worth pausing on. They were used as money across a vast portion of the world for thousands of years. One of the most widespread and long-lived currencies in all of human history, outlasting most metal coins by far. A tiny sea snail did something, empires struggled to do it, got strangers across whole continents to agree on what something was worth. And here's the strange part. The things humans chose as money were almost never the most useful things. You can't eat a shell. You can't wear silver. And that uselessness was exactly the point. Nobody wanted to consume it for something else, so it held its value. Good money is a thing useless enough that no one does anything with it except believe in it. Still, weighing out silver for every deal is slow and easy to cheat. So came the next leap, the coin. A lump of metal whose weight and purity were guaranteed by a stamp. Some of the earliest known minted coins appeared in the Kingdom of Lydia, roughly 2,600 years ago, marked with a seal that functioned as a promise this is the real thing. You can trust it. But ask the crucial question, whose stamp was it? The kings, the temples, the states. The moment money got standardized, it fused with power. Rulers didn't mint coins purely to make trade convenient. They minted them to collect taxes, to pay soldiers, and to force an entire kingdom to use one official currency. Money was never just a tool of the marketplace. It was always, at the same time, a tool of whoever was in charge, a way to measure, extract from, and control a whole society at once. Now pull all the way back and follow the whole chain. Debt in memory, debt on clay, shells, weighed silver, stamped coins, paper, and finally, numbers glowing on a screen, attached to nothing physical at all. At every step, money drifted further from any real object, and closer to what it always secretly was. Because here's the truth underneath all of it. Money was never really a thing. Money is an agreement, a story we all decide to believe together. The paper in your pocket has value only because you trust that the next person will accept it. And they accept it because they trust the person after them. An invisible chain of belief looping around the entire planet. It may be the single most successful story our species has ever told, believed by billions of strangers of every religion and language, even when they agree on nothing else. So the great invention was never the coin, or the shell, or the paper. The great invention was the abstraction. The leap from you owe me a favor to you owe me exactly 3 units. The moment humans learned to peel a debt away from the 2 specific people who created it and turn it into a number that could be handed to anyone. That was the moment we didn't just invent money. We invented the ability to trust strangers by the millions. That is what lets cities exist. Empires. Global trade. Without that abstraction, we'd still be trapped in tiny groups where everyone has to remember everyone's face. But the price was real. The same tool that lets you trust a stranger also quietly turns human bonds into transactions. I owe you a favor is a relationship. I owe you 3 units is a number you can pay off and walk away from. Money doesn't just measure trust. It slowly replaces gratitude with a balance, and obligation with a payment. So look at that banknote one more time. A moment ago, you saw a scrap of paper. Now you can see what it actually is. A debt frozen into a number. A story a billion strangers have agreed to believe. The invention that let humans trust each other far past the limits of memory and blood. You're holding a worthless piece of paper. But what you're really holding is the most successful story our species ever told. And the only reason it's true is that you believe it.